The Aegean Sea glittered like hammered bronze beneath the noonday sun. A single ship glided across its waves, sails full with the steady breeze, oars cutting the water with practiced rhythm. Upon its prow stood a young man, tall, lithe, and elegant, his dark hair curling around his shoulders, his eyes fixed upon the coastline, drawing nearer with every stroke. Paris, Prince of Troy, breathed deeply of the salt wind. He had traveled many leagues from the great citadel of his father, King Priam, to this land across the sea. His mission, at least in word, was one of peace, to strengthen the ties between Troy and Sparta, to ensure friendship in an age when kings eyed each other's borders with suspicion. Yet, within Paris stirred not only duty but curiosity. For though he had grown among the high towers of Ilium, sheltered by his brother Hector's strength and his father's wisdom, Paris had long felt the pull of destiny, a sense that the gods themselves had woven his life for something greater, something perilous. Behind him, sailors sang in their native tongue as they guided the vessel into the Spartan harbor. The coast rose stark and rugged, hills crowned with olive trees and dotted with the white marble of shrines. Beyond, the walls of Sparta gleamed, austere and unyielding, built not for beauty but for strength. Unlike Troy, whose walls reached heavenward like monuments to the gods, Sparta's citadel clung to the earth like a warrior gripping his shield. As Paris stepped onto the quay, he was greeted by Spartan guards in red cloaks, their spears gleaming in the sun, their faces as stern as the land that had bred them. They saluted with curt nods and led him toward the palace, where Menelaus, king of Sparta, awaited. Menelaus was a man forged by war. His frame was broad, his beard touched with gray, his eyes keen and watchful. Though less cunning than his elder brother Agamemnon, Menelaus was known across Greece as a warrior of honor, quick to anger, but slow to treachery. He greeted Paris with the warmth due a guest, though beneath his welcome lay the unspoken vigilance of a host wary of flattery. "Prince of Troy," Menelaus said, clasping Paris's arm in greeting, "you bring with you the blessings of your father, King Priam. Be welcome in Sparta as a guest and friend." Paris bowed. "May our friendship endure as the olive tree endures, rooted deep, weathering every storm." Menelaus smiled, pleased by the courtesy. "Come then, tonight we feast. Let the gods see our bond and bless it." Sparta's palace was not as vast as Troy's, yet it commanded respect. Its columns were thick and sturdy, its floors of polished stone, its walls carved with scenes of battles past. Hoplites locked in phalanx, kings lifting spears to the sky, gods descending in fire. Servants moved swiftly through the halls, carrying amphoras of wine, platters of figs and roasted lamb, baskets of bread baked golden. As the sun set, the palace blazed with torchlight. Braziers burned fragrant olive oil, filling the air with smoke and warmth. Nobles gathered in the great hall, their cloaks dyed crimson, their bronze ornaments flashing in the firelight. Lyres strummed soft chords while flutes wove melodies above the murmur of voices. Paris entered, clad in robes of fine linen, adorned with a golden clasp shaped like a falcon, a gift from his father. His beauty did not go unnoticed. Many whispered that he resembled a god more than a man, with his smooth features, graceful bearing, and eyes alight with restless fire. And then she entered. Helen of Sparta, wife of Menelaus, queen of this land, daughter, so men claimed, of Zeus himself. From the moment she stepped into the hall, silence rippled outward like a wave across the sea. Conversation faltered, music softened, and all eyes turned to her. Her gown was white linen, edged with silver threads that shimmered in the firelight. Her golden hair cascaded freely down her back, unbound, catching the glow of the torches as though the sun itself lingered in each strand. But it was her face that held Paris captive, serene, luminous, yet touched with a quiet sorrow, as though she bore a weight invisible to others. Her eyes, deep and blue as the Aegean at dusk, seemed to see both the present and the shadow of fate beyond it. Menelaus rose to greet her, pride in his gaze. "My queen," he said, "behold our guest, Paris of Troy." Helen inclined her head gracefully. "Welcome, my lord of Troy. May the gods grant your journey has been gentle." Paris bowed, but his eyes met hers. For a moment the world fell away, the laughter of nobles, the crackle of torches, the strumming of the lyre. Time itself seemed to pause, and Paris felt his breath catch. It was as if he had known her in another life, as if some immortal hand had drawn them together beyond the will of kings. Helen, too, felt the weight of that glance. She lowered her gaze swiftly, yet not before Paris saw something. Recognition, curiosity, perhaps even longing. The hall filled with merriment. Servants poured wine into goblets of hammered bronze, rich and strong. Platters were heaped with roasted lamb, seasoned with garlic and thyme. Bowls overflowed with olives, figs, and dates. Nobles raised toasts to the gods, to Sparta, to Troy. Menelaus, seated beside Paris, spoke of matters of state. "Your father is wise to strengthen ties with Sparta," he said. "Together our peoples will guard the Aegean against pirates and ambitious kings, and should trouble rise in the east, we shall stand united." Paris answered politely, yet his thoughts wandered. His ears heard talk of treaties and trade, but his heart strained toward Helen, seated across the hall. She laughed gently at some jest, her voice like the chiming of distant bells, and Paris felt his blood quicken. Helen, for her part, sat poised, smiling as expected, her hands folded neatly on the table. Yet within her stirred an unrest she had long denied. Menelaus was not cruel, but neither was he tender. His pride and his wars filled his days, leaving little for the woman who shared his throne. Surrounded by adoration, Helen was worshipped as a prize, admired as a jewel, yet seldom seen as a woman with desires and dreams of her own. As the feast wore on, Paris excused himself from Menelaus' side and walked among the nobles offering courtesies. At last, by chance or fate, he passed near Helen. She lifted her gaze, and for an instant their eyes met again. Paris inclined his head in a subtle bow, and Helen, though she should have turned away, allowed her lips to curve in the faintest of smiles. The hall's music swelled, dancers whirled upon the polished floor, and still the unspoken thread between them grew tauter with every glance. Later that night, when the feast had ended and the hall lay quiet, Paris wandered into the palace gardens. Moonlight silvered the leaves of olive trees, and the air was thick with the scent of jasmine. Statues of gods watched silently from their pedestals, their marble faces serene and eternal. And there, as though summoned by destiny, Helen walked alone. Her gown shimmered in the moonlight, her hair gleamed like pale fire. She started slightly at the sight of Paris, but did not retreat. "Queen of Sparta?" Paris said softly, bowing. "Do you walk in the gardens without a guard?" Helen's lips curved faintly. "A queen is never without guard. The gods watch, even when men do not." Paris stepped closer, though not so close as to break propriety. "Then let them watch, for I would sooner face their judgment than lose the chance to speak to you." Helen's breath caught. "You speak boldly, Prince. Do you not fear the wrath of Menelaus? Words such as yours could bring ruin upon us both." Paris held her gaze. "Perhaps ruin is already written, but what is a crown if it chains the heart? What is an oath if it strangles love before it lives?" Helen looked away, her heart warring within her. She had known admiration before, from kings, from nobles, from all who beheld her beauty. But never had she felt such danger in a single glance, never such temptation in a single voice. "Go," she whispered, though her voice trembled. "Go, before you speak more madness." Yet she did not move. And when her maids approached at last, she left him with only a glance. But it was enough to seal both their fates.